Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Garrett Horner. This is stage 3 of the Tour of Valencia. Now, before we get into today's stage, let me remind the Patreon subscribers that we got a Q&A set up for February 10th. So if you want your questions answered, send them in before 10 a.m. on February 10th. And we'll see if we can highlight those questions in their show that we're going to release up to YouTube. Now, let's get into today's stage. I promised you guys yesterday this would be a good battle. In fact, I promised you guys on stage 1 that these next 2 mountain stages were going to be a good battle, and that's why I wanted to cover it for the first viewing of stage races here at the Butterfly Effect in 2025. Well, let's see what happens, because once the cameras come on with 40 kilometers to go, we got 6 riders in the front group there. Don't even pay attention to these knuckleheads. They're going to start attacking each other left and right. But just before they do, we got to back up the film a little bit, because Lidl Trek's Vasek, Mateusz Vasek, that's wearing the race leader's jersey, he crashed earlier before the cameras come on. We don't know exactly how bad he's hurt, but when we see pictures of him, we don't see the normal road rash all over the kid, but it's told to us while we're watching it from the Chesterfield that he has some shoulder pain and he's still in the race. They say he's doing okay. What does that mean? I don't know. I've crashed many times when you're not doing okay, when you haven't broken anything. So Vasek at this moment, all we know is he's hit the ground. But we see Bahrain Victorious ride in the front with a bunch of knuckleheads in that original group of 6 attacking each other left and right, like I said. Now, if I back the film up to the start and give you the profile, we're a 180 kilometer stage here, about 115 miles in length, 3 categories climbs, but it's really the last one that starts with 29 kilometers to go, about 8.5 kilometers, 6.5%. It's going to summit with 21 kilometers to go, and then it's going to drop down a descent, and it's rolling all the way into a roundabout that hits at 1.5 kilometers. Then the road goes all the way up to the finish. I'll call it about 6%. It's a complicated climb at the finish, but it's complicated because there's a lot of speed there, and you know it's going to be a reduced group of some kind. But Lidl Trek want to keep this thing all together. Mateusz Vasek has said that he wants to win the general classification. I told you guys that that was a mistake to do after stage 1. I told you guys yesterday at stage 2 that maybe I'm a knucklehead, because Vasek kept the race leader's yellow jersey. But I said maybe I'm a knucklehead. We don't know for sure. That's why I used the word maybe, because he kept the jersey yesterday, but can he keep it today? And most importantly, what kind of effect will it have on his teammates when you have a rider like Johnny Milan that can win stages, and when you have a rider like Johnny Milan that they're trying to build up to start going into the classics and get him ready for the Tour de France so he can start winning individual stage victories. Well, right now, in order to prove me a knucklehead, they at least got to get through stage 3. They got to keep the jersey on stage 4. They got to keep it on stage 5, and they can't fall apart at any point in time. But as I already told you, Vasek's hit the ground, so maybe that's all null and void right now. We'll find out. As we're coming into 29 kilometers to go, the brake's starting to get wrapped up as the climb starts proper, and it's Filippo Barncioni from UAE Team Emirates on the front. This is Tactics 101. This is what I told you they needed to be doing yesterday, because this is the real last GC stage here. Well, it could be the real last GC stage, but it's certainly the real last mountain time to put some distance on everyone and drop Mateusz Vasek from Lidl Trek if you're going to drop him. So Filippo Barncioni's going full gas. We see a few of the breakaway riders that were up there all split up in pieces. They're starting to get caught now. Barncioni's going to pull off 2K into it, we'll call it. And then we're going to see Grossschartner on the front. Once Grossschartner starts going full gas, there's 4 UAE Team Emirates on the front. Grossschartner, Sivakov, Brandon McNulty, and Almeida, the Portuguese diesel right there that I told you this is the lineup they should have had on stage 2 yesterday to bring them into that 9.5% average 4.3 kilometers. They didn't listen to me yesterday, but today it looks like they're on the right page because Grossschartner's drilling it. So we see Grossschartner get out of the saddle. He starts throwing down on the pedals, and then we see the explosion back in the peloton as the race leader Vasek's coming out the back of the group. Grossschartner's just getting ready to blow. He blows too. Sivakov gets on the front. And now the race leader's jersey just switched hands right here with Tactic 101 as Sivakov's going full gas. Brandon McNulty and current race leader, virtual race leader at this moment, that's Almeida. Now, let me back the film up again to the race profile though, because right now we got some predicaments to run into. When I show you the general classification after yesterday's stage 2, I said Vasek was the race leader. But what I didn't tell you is that Almeida is sitting 2 seconds back, and behind him is Santiago Buitrago at 5 seconds. That means there's a 3-second difference right now between those 2 riders of Almeida and Santiago Buitrago. So yes, Almeida is the race leader, virtual race leader right now because Vasek just got dropped. He's got his teammates all wrapped around him back there, at least two of them. He's got Jakob back there, and he's got Gabriel Xavier, who's always trying to help out Lidl Trek because he's super domestique. But they're not going to be able to get those guys back on, it looks like, at this moment because they're in the third group. Up front, Sivakov's done a fantastic job. He starts to blow, and as he's starting to blow, Brandon McNulty's getting on the front. Okay, again, this is the way I told you stage 2 should have went, so Brandon McNulty's drilling in on the front. But look at Santiago Buitrago from Bahrain Victorious. Well, back to film up a little bit. He was a little bit behind the Movistar team, so we'll call him about 10th position back there. But now he's moved himself up to Almeida's position as Brandon McNulty's going full gas. Now as Brandon McNulty's on the pedal, we're going to see attack from Cepeda. Jefferson Cepeda right here from Movistar's throwing in attack, but the only problem this knucklehead hasn't factored out is that Brandon McNulty hasn't been on the front for about only we'll call it 500-700 meters at the most, and Cepeda's throwing in his attack. As Cepeda's throwing in his attack, Brandon McNulty's got this under control at the front because he hasn't been in the wind throughout today's stage. And he's only been there for 500-700 meters, like I told you. So Cepeda's going up the front, looking back over his shoulder. Brandon McNulty's calm like a bomb. The UAE Team Emirates riders riding the front. And then there's a dip and a little drop there. You don't want to be in front of Brandon McNulty. This is a big kid that amazingly can climb with the best in the world, but he can certainly go downhill and he can power on the flats and everywhere else. So if you're Jefferson Cepeda, you picked a bad time to attack because Brandon McNulty's going to pull you back. As Brandon McNulty pulls Cepeda back, well, the action's going to start to happen here at about 700 meters to go. 700 meters to go, we're going to see Almeida start coming up the right side there around Brandon McNulty. On the left side, right there, well, that is Santiago Buitrago from Bahrain Victorious. Remember, only 3 seconds separated these two riders. They're trying to figure out who's going to be the virtual race leader at this moment because Almeida has it, but Santiago Buitrago could take it. Needs a little bit of help because there's time bonuses coming up because he needs Almeida to lose some points too at the top of this KOM. Well, Almeida stays a little bit calm. Santiago Buitrago throws the first aggression into the pedals. And there we see Almeida latch onto the back wheel of Santiago Buitrago. Buitrago, what are you thinking right now? You are a faster sprinter than Almeida, but you are not a better climber than Almeida. You have to understand your characteristics in bike racing, and when you're on the front with 600 meters to go, that means behind you is Almeida getting a draft. Now, Almeida's got an ugly face on, but we'll see Santiago Buitrago look back over his shoulder, throws in another acceleration, looks back over his shoulder, he eases off, and they start going side by side. Well, coming into, I'll call it about 250 meters to go. Santiago Buitrago throws in another hard acceleration. Almeida, the Portuguese rider, latches on second wheel. They've gapped everyone else back there because Santiago Buitrago's throwing everything into it, which means the Portuguese rider Almeida from UAE Team Emirates, virtual race leader at this moment, is getting the draft. They come up to 100 meters to go, and once they go under 75, we see Almeida come around the right side. It's a drag coming up to the finish here, but then Almeida comes through to get maximum time bonuses of 3 seconds. Cepeda holds on for seconds, so that gives him 2, which means it adds 1 second there to Almeida's time. So now he's got a 4-second gap on Santiago Buitrago, and he's the virtual race leader at this moment. This changes the tactics a little bit once you're going forward as you drop down the descent with those two riders in the front. Now, we look at the group coming over the back. Ben O'Connor was there. Then there was a gap to the next group. Ben O'Connor had one guy for company. I forget who he was. But we look back at the third group, and this is the majority of the chase group back there. Ineos got 3 riders represented in there. And Brandon McNulty, the American from UAE Team Emirates, is still holding on. But there is no Vasek. Lidl Trek's out of the picture. I don't know where they're at, and they're never going to give us a time gap on those guys. But we'll see that the group from behind will catch the 2 riders in front. But they still got 2 more riders in front of them. So we see it's Ineos Carlos Rodriguez in the white jersey as they're coming up to about 17.5 kilometers to go. They're going to wrap up Santiago Buitrago, and they're going to wrap up the virtual race leader right now, Almeida. Now, if I back the film up, going up the climb, if you were watching this race live and you were watching it on Flow Bikes with Adam Blythe calling the race, don't listen to anything that knucklehead has to say tactically. He was brilliant on knowing all the riders. He's brilliant on knowing a lot of the gossip that's going on in the peloton. He's brilliant at throwing out a bunch of entertaining words out there, but he's not brilliant with the tactics. And I'm being nice right here. His tactics going up the climb, they're ridiculous. He was worried about UAE team Emirates after the top of the climb. You cannot worry about what happens in the last 21 kilometers of this race. You have to worry about the time bonuses at the top, and you have to worry about Vasek. So UAE team Emirates were something magical, Adam Blythe, and you called that all wrong the whole way up that climb. Well, now everything's back together. We're coming under 17.5 kilometers to go. Ineos is on the front. Ineos, that's Carlos Rodriguez, throws in a half-hearted attack after they just got done catching the two race leaders there with Almeida and Santiago Buitrago. With that half-hearted attack, there's a little bump in the road. He starts to slow. The American, Brandon McNulty, he's a little bit further back in the group, but he knows when he feels the pace start to slow like this, well, you know you got to start looking back because there's going to be attack. Where does attack come from? It's Movistar's Ivon Romeo that's throwing an attack off the wheel of Brandon McNulty. As he goes off to the right side, Brandon looks over, sees Ivon Romeo going, and he's thinking, oh, this is the perfect scenario. This is exactly what I want. This is what exactly Brandon McNulty and Team UAE Emirates want, because Ivon Romeo is down on general classification 48 seconds. That means Brandon McNulty can ride to the front and soft pedal to let that gap go out a little bit. The other teams missed the ball. Let's go back and look at that picture one more time and see how the attack really happened. Well, just behind Brandon McNulty, like I told you, that's Ineos. Ineos, our ensman's in there, and he's lifting out his bottle, getting a drink out of his bottle. As he's putting it back down, that's when Ivon Romeo attacks and goes up the road, so Ineos missed it. Bahrain Victorious missed it. They can't afford to miss this move because UAE Team Emirates don't have to pull it back. So then we see Foss get on the front. As we see Foss from Ineos get on the front, he starts driving. I'm hearing Adam Blythe talk about, why is he on the front? Adam Blythe, he has to be on the front. Because like I already told you guys, UAE Team Emirates do not have to pull this back. They got to keep the gap relatively close. But at 48 seconds, Brandon McNulty doesn't have to worry. So that's why we see Foss on the front. Now Foss gets on the radio, chit-chats a little bit, continues to stay on the front, and then Brandon McNulty is going to come up there to Almeida. They're going to have a little chit-chat, and I'm sure Almeida and Brandon McNulty are like, this is a perfect scenario. Do not over-pull and pull this kid back. We want to give these 10 seconds away. We want to make sure that we don't lose 4 seconds to Santiago Buitrago, who has a ton of speed and can win this stage if they bring it all back together. Well, Brandon McNulty had that discussion and he went to the front. So what was the next discussion happening with the teams back there? It's Bahrain Victorious. It's Lenny Martinez and Pale Bilbao. They're having a discussion too, so they're going to send Lenny Martinez to the front. Now we got 3 guys driving it. We got Foss, Tobias Foss, Ineos on the front. Brandon McNulty driving it? Probably not. Pulling on the front? Yes, he is. Soft pedaling probably. And then Bahrain Victorious, Lenny Martinez. Bahrain Victorious, Lenny Martinez probably only weighs, I don't know, $115. He doesn't weigh that much. He's not a big guy, so you know he can't do much damage. So Ivon Romeo is up there from Movistar, throwing down in TT mode, going as hard as he can. We'll start looking back after 4 kilometers of pulling there from Foss, and Foss decides, well, with about 12 kilometers to go, it's time for him to get off the front. It's not time for you to get off the front. That's for certain. You want to keep pulling, and you want to pull Ivon Romeo back as soon as you can tactically, because you want to bring this kid back, and there's 3 of you, and you want to try to win the stage and get away from the race leaders of Santiago Buitrago and Almeida right now, because you're not a threat on GC if you're wearing an Ineos jersey. Instead, Foss pulls off the front. Now we got 2 guys on the front, Lenny Martinez, $115, and Brandon McNulty soft pedaling. So up front, Ivon Romeo is throwing in on the pedals big time in his TT mode, and the time starts to extend out. We go under 10 kilometers to go. The gap's at 16 seconds. We get into 9 kilometers to go. Ivon Romeo there is coming into the city there. Look how he's making this left turn as he's just skimming the corner there of the building. Comes out of the building. He's got the padded wall on the other side. As he misses the padded wall, the road starts to go up. He's starting to sprint. Why did I bring that up? Well, when you go back to these technical corners like this, Romeo's able to get a little bit of rest at that moment. So he's able to rest a little bit, come through that corner, and you know the gap behind, when we start seeing the group come through this same corner right here, you know Brandon McNulty is soft pedaling, you know Lenny Martinez is $115 because I already told you. So how much power does he have? Well, we go up as we see Ivon Romeo exit that turn. He's in a full sprint. This group now starting to give up time because Ivon Romeo is going and these 2 guys just don't have enough power. Now we start coming up a little bit further to go, about 7.5 kilometers to go. As the gap keeps going out, Ineos are having a chit-chat at the back. That's Foss at the back. Foss, you got to go back to the front. Probably take a teammate with you too, but you got to do something. Instead, they're sitting back there. We go up a little bit further, and now we start seeing Pello Bilbao starts getting on the front because he knows he's got to start riding, because if they want a shot at these 10-second time bonuses so they can take the race leader's jersey for Santiago Buitrago, they got to bring back Ivon Romeo. Well, Pello Bilbao doesn't do too much work up there. They decide that after one pull, that's enough, so he pulls off. Now we go back to about 3 kilometers, 3.5 kilometers ago. I'll call it 3. And we'll see Ineos are back there, and it's Arensman at the back of this group, and we'll call it 13 riders now. Arensman's chatting with Carlos Rodriguez. Foss is just in front of them. And then just after that, we see Foss taking Arensman and Carlos Rodriguez to the front. But the gap's up at about 26, 27 seconds right now. So how are you going to catch this front rider? Because he is flying, and he knows if he can keep this gap into 1.5 kilometers to go, he's got to suffer a little bit more, but it's a softer climb to the finish. Still hard, but a little bit softer than what we're normally used to seeing, certainly compared to yesterday's 4.3 kilometer climb. Ivon Romeo's got to go. But Foss is on the front now with Arensman. They're coming under 2 kilometers to go with Foss pulling full gas. Not much time's dropping up front, but a little bit. And we come into the roundabout 1.5 kilometers to go. And Ivon Romeo flies through the roundabout as the road starts to go up. Now he starts going full gas on the pedals because he knows he's got a shot here, winning stage 3 of Tour of Valencia. Behind, we look at Foss pulling off as the roundabout exits. He pulls off. Arensman throws everything into the pedals. But let me just back it up a hair, because we'll see going through that roundabout that I forgot to mention is Almeida sitting 10th wheel and Santiago Buitrago. I'll call him 6 or 7. This is a little bit of a mistake right here for Almeida. You want to be on the wheel of Santiago Buitrago right now, but it depends on what plays out front with Ineos and Arensman now, who's going full gas. As Arensman goes 100%, look at Carlos Rodriguez trying to play a little sneaky move right here as he opens up the gap to Arensman. Now the only problem is it's Davide right there from Pulte that closes the gap right away, so it didn't work for Team Ineos. Arensman's still on the front. We look back there, and we'll see that Almeida's starting to try to make some progress moving back up. Then Arensman starts to blow. Up front, coming in about 500 meters to go, we'll see the race leader now, Ivon Romeo there. He knows he's got a shot here. It's getting realistic. The gap's down to under 20 seconds. We'll call it about 15, 17 seconds right now, as we see the race leader there throwing one more acceleration. Comes under 400 meters to go. He looks back over his shoulder. The peloton's out of the picture, but then when he comes up just a little bit further, well, the peloton's in the picture. Who's leading the group back there? Well, it's Brandon McNulty. Arensman started to blow. Brandon McNulty came to the front, and he's got Almeida in a good position, but Brandon McNulty's just got to hold some speed on the front there so it doesn't drop right away. They can't give up too much time to Ivon Romeo right now from Movistar. They want to keep him close because now they know you can't catch him, because when we go up front and look at Ivon Romeo, well, he's getting on the radio to his team. That means he knows he's got the gap and the legs to win today's stage 3, and he's congratulating everyone on his team. This is coming into about 250, 300 meters to go. Behind is still Brandon McNulty on the front, but it's going a little bit wider right now because the American knows the gap is close enough. He's just got to make it to the finish and don't get himself dropped and keep the speed fast enough for Almeida to not get swarmed. Well, he does that. Up front, though, first is the race leader, Ivon Romeo, as he comes into the last 100 meters to go. It's now 75 coming through the left bend there. Once he comes out of the bend, sits up, past the chest, crosses the line for stage 3 victory with the arms wide open. He'll cross the line, and then what's happening in the back? Well, we're coming into that same left bend there. It's Almeida flying through the left bend with Santiago Buitrago locked on his wheel. Behind him, Pello Bilbao, Bahrain Victorious, sitting second and third. Well, Almeida knows coming out last corner, you want to lead, he's going full gas, but Santiago Buitrago punches it and comes through to take second place time bonuses of 6 seconds. Almeida holds on, though, for third, which gives him 4 seconds, which means that now the battle here for the general classification is super tight. When we look at it, there's a 2-second difference between race leader, current race leader now, Almeida, who finished third on the stage, and Santiago Buitrago, who's sitting second. Now this is going to be a fantastic battle for tomorrow's stage 2, because that means with the time bonuses early in tomorrow's stage 4, early, halfway, midway, after the last category 1 climb, that means Bahrain Victorious, who are sitting second on general classification, they got to keep the race together for tomorrow's stage 4 here at Valencia, because they want a shot at going for that time bonus. Okay, little secret right here for Santiago Buitrago. You won the sprint here for the field sprint for second because you're on the wheel there of Almeida and you have more speed. we back it up to the time bonus like I told you. Don't get on the front tomorrow with 600 meters to go and pull the diesel Portugal rider there, Almeida, all the way up for 600 meters because you can't beat him if you're going to go power for power on the climb, but you're more explosive. So tomorrow, have your teammates lead you all the way up the climb. Doesn't matter how fast you're going up the climb because you got more speed than Almeida. Just do the last punch in the last 75 meters, maybe 50 meters, depending on how steep it is, and beat Almeida to the line there. Hopefully Pello Bilbao does too, and then you'll take a 3-second bonus. Maybe you get lucky. Someone else will come in third whose name isn't Almeida. You'll be the race leader after tomorrow's time bonuses. Either way, the tactics today from UAE Team Emirates, a tip of the hat. Brandon McNulty, you were something beautiful today. Almeida, you raced it perfectly. Little bit out of a position going through the roundabout, but I won't take that from you. It was a fantastic race. You guys were spot on, Tactic 101, and now you have the race leader's jersey with Almeida going in with a 2-second gap. Bahrain Victorious, you guys are a bit of a knuckleheads. You got to pull back Ivon Romeo up front there because you got to have a chance for Santiago Buitrago to win the stage. But you guys messed up. 3 guys in there. You're not riding Pello Bilbao. You're riding a $1.15 Lenny Martinez on the front with Brandon McNulty soft pedal. Come on, guys. You could do better than that. Ineos, what were you guys thinking? 3 guys in that front group. You kind of ride Foss a little bit, then you pull them off, then you put them back on too late. You guys are knuckleheads too. How can you win a race that way? You want to bring them back, Ivon Romeo, right away, and you want to get in that move directly as fast as you possibly can and get away from the race leaders that try to win the stage. Either way, we got a couple knuckleheads on today's stage. We got UAE Team Emirates racing beautiful. And I told you guys yesterday, maybe I was a knucklehead, but now today, certainly I'm not. Because when we look at the race leader, Mateusz Waszek, well, he lost over 4 minutes in today's stage. Okay, maybe the crash caused that to happen, I don't know. But all I know right now is that Almeida raced exactly how I told you guys to do. Now tomorrow has to be good, but the real question about tomorrow's stage, they usually only show the last 40 kilometers of the racing, so hopefully they bring us a little bit more viewing of the last climb there going up to the time bonuses tomorrow, because that's going to have a big time effect on the general classification. Will the Volta Valencia here actually show us that part of the racing? It's not showing up right now that they will, but maybe they show us something. Either way, like and subscribe. I'll find the best way to call it for you to entertain you guys on the Butterfly Effect tomorrow. See you guys real soon. Hit the like and subscribe button before you leave. Thanks for viewing.